no wet la drop for Jah. Jah is love. If we should love as we should, things would be good.
Shalom, salam. In this particular segment, we're going to follow up on where we left off on the previous segments about the true Moshiach, Yehoshua, Jesus Christ, and that first original advent as the Son of Man, or the Son of God, Elohim, and his teachings through the Brit Hadashah, New Covenant. Following up on these last teachings of the last segment, or previous segment, about serving two masters, do not worry and be like the pagans or the Gentiles spiritually, being separate from the world system way of thinking, from this whole Babylonian math. For it is spiritual wealth and these jewels of true knowledge and wisdom that make a righteous man rich and wealthy as far as a spiritual concept within of that true inner peace and happiness in this present life and the everlasting life to come, the resurrection. But I have much love, give much credit to people like Dave Chappelle, in my personal opinion, one of the funniest people on this planet, and somebody who reached and obtained a certain level of fame and wealth as he has today as an actor and stand-up comic, having his own show for a couple seasons, but able to put his foot down and not sell out to the man who wanted to buy out his show for the third season and make it all corporate and watered down. I have much respect for that. As much fame and money as he does have, and his show is still being played on Comedy Central to this day, did not sell out to the man, did not sell his soul to the devil. Is a nice down-to-earth family man with his wife and kids, has a nice cool little ranch. He doesn't have a huge mansion, but I'm sure he's got a fat crib and he goes on vacations and enjoys his life. It's people like that who keep it real. That's why Yeshua himself and his other teachings teaches that it is almost impossible for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. We see examples even in the Old Testament about King David and his son King Solomon, who obtained so much wealth, being the anointed kings of Yahweh's chosen people, Israel, but going astray to the lures and temptations of such great wealth and power. Chapter 7 in the Gospel of Matthew, verse 1. Judging others. Do not judge, so that you may not be judged. For with the judgment you make, you will be judged. And the measure you give will be the measure you get. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, let me take this speck out of your eye, while the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. Very simple teaching right here. Not too much of a parable. It's pretty much a flat-out teaching and more of a parody. Don't be a hypocrite. Now granted, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes and slip up, and sometimes we fall to a certain level of hypocrisy from time to time if we're not careful. But for the most part, don't be a straight up hypocrite. We need to shun hypocrisy, especially if we're called to be disciples, and make sure that we're not being hypocrites that would turn people away from the actual truth that we claim to represent. So keep that in mind. That's something that should always keep us focused on our liberty and keeping that consciousness to shun hypocrisy. I mean, we can't expect to go to our neighbor in this world, wake up in the morning and have this big crusty booger, or excuse me, I'll take that back. We see this big crusty booger in the corner of our brethren's eye, but yet little did we know we got this big goober hanging out the corner of our eye. We failed to check ourselves in the mirror first thing in the morning. So we're like, hey man, you got a booger in your eye. You got a little crusty. And he's like, oh really? Because you got a big nasty goober hanging out of your eye, you hypocrite. Next time, why don't you check yourself before you go pointing out the booger in my eye? You know, little things like that. Yeah, definitely check yourself. But then once you do check yourself and get your head right, you can see clearly to help your neighbor without offending him or her, whatever the situation might be. Moving on to verse 6. Profaning the holy. Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them underfoot and turn and maul you. In other words, don't cast too much of your pearls or jewels, divine wisdom and knowledge, for those who don't care. They're just swine. They're completely lost, completely blind. I mean, some people are lost, but they have potential to receive some knowledge, and you can plant seeds of light and build on that gradually. But some people are just straight up swine. They don't care. And on top of that, this parable has a double meaning and interpretation as well of Yeshua's teaching that basically don't be a fool. Don't submit to somebody else's foolishness, especially if they're a pagan swine. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a time to be humble, and there's a time to put your foot down and be bold. Don't be a fool. That's an abomination to be a fool and fall into somebody else's trap. Allow yourself to be deceived and manipulated. No, be wise. Use your third eye. Be wise. Don't be too supposedly nice, or don't be too friendly to those people who are obviously manipulating or trying to play you for a fool or a sucker. Alright, so there's a proper spiritual balance between true love, or Jah love, based on humility and strength. This breaks down to the Kabbalistic tree of life and tree of knowledge, that spiritual well balance between love and strength. In the original Hebraic, Kesed being love or Jah love, and Garuva being that of strength. And in real life, especially in discipleship, you have to know when to be humble and when to be bold, Yah willing. There's a time in true righteousness and true love to be humble as a lamb. And other times, it is necessary to put your foot down and be bold as a lion. That spiritual balance between love and strength when it comes to true righteousness. And Jah word speaks of balance. So we have to know when to be humble and when to be bold as a lion. Both universal and parallel to other Eastern philosophies. Peace, love, and unity. The true foundation of Jah love. Verse 7. Ask, search, and knock. Ask and it will be given you. Search and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened for you.